Welcome to Le Grand Voyage with Chateau Malottic La Gravière. There are few things more modern than the smartphone, yet it's also something that can take us on a journey into the past. The last time I was in Bordeaux, I walked along the Rue du Docteur Albert Barreau. I had my phone and some translation software and learnt a bit about this hero. Barreau was a doctor in the city during the Second World War. He provided papers to help illegal immigrants avoid deportation or got them a pass to Spain. His doctor's night pass meant he could hide weapons and explosives and ammunition in the hospital boarding house. But he was eventually arrested and transferred to a prison camp by the Gestapo, where he treated his fellow inmates. And then he was tragically killed on the Cap Arcona liner. It was bombed by the British as the Germans deported him to Sweden. But then the phone took me even further back to the 3rd century, because on the Rue du Docteur Albert Barreau is the Palatium Gallian. It's largely a ruin today, a succession of Vandals, Visigoths, Moors, Carolingians and Normans have all taken their toll over the centuries, not to mention the crooks and the prostitutes who gathered there in the 17th century, or the witches who were said to gather in the ruins before a Bordeaux mayor transformed the site into a quarry during the French Revolution. Yet in its heyday, it would hold 15,000 of the 25,000 or so inhabitants of the city. That's the same as the Centre Court at Wimbledon today, although the Palatium Gallian didn't have any sort of retractable roof if it rained. And in place of 2 tennis players grunting out 100-mile-an-hour serves, there would have been gladiators spearing each other with tridents and villains meeting their end at the jaws of a lion. Or maybe not. The Palatium Gallian is named after the Emperor Gallienus. He was a notorious libertarian, a womanizer, and described as a cross-dresser who wore women's clothes. Although that wasn't particularly remarkable in Rome at the time. The somewhat unreliable historian Augusta said he sprinkled his hair with gold dust. That seems to have caused more scandal. Gallienus was a fearless warrior. He led his troops from the front and was wounded at least twice in battle. He was loved by his soldiers, although loathed so much by his officers they stabbed him to death in 268. The most famous story about him comes from the amphitheatre, perhaps the one in Bordeaux. A Roman merchant who sold fake jewels was sentenced to face a lion in the arena. When the gate finally opened, a chicken walked out. Emperor Gallienus proclaimed, "He practised deceit and then had it practised on him." We know Gallienus was a wine fan. It's said he learnt how to preserve grapes for 3 years, and he would serve melon in the depths of winter. And he showed how new wine could be had through all the year. And you would have enjoyed the wine of Bordeaux. From the accounts of visitors, Bordeaux had its own vineyards more than 200 years earlier, around the time of the Emperor Claudius. When Pliny visited the city in the year 71, he didn't just write about the vineyards, he even described the variety. It was the Balisca vine, although the local tribe, the Bituriges, called it the Biturica. Even 2,000 years ago, wine students had to learn the different synonyms for the same grape variety. In Spain, it was called Cocolubis. It wasn't even local. It came from Dyrrachium on the Adriatic coast, now in Albania. Which is important, because vines wouldn't have grown naturally in Bordeaux. Thin, mean, gravelly soils make the vine concentrate all its energy in clusters of precious grapes, in the hope that one day a bird will eat them and replant its genes in richer, deeper soil, where its descendants will have an easier life. Romans had learnt how to control this, and the wine that was made from those grapes, and they realised it was a bit like the birds found, more flavoursome, richer, more complex and delicious. It gave a richer mouthfeel, a more satisfying finish. And that if you grew grapes here, by the estuary, next to this fortified town, you didn't just keep your troops happy with a goatskin of wine at the end of the day, you could also ship it to the rest of the empire and make money on it too. By the time Gallienus arrived 200 years later, Bordeaux was the capital of the local region. There were temples, colonnades and forums. The city was called a miniature Rome, and it was guarded by a 2-kilometre long, 10-metre high protective wall. They're all long gone now. But at the time, a wealthy city at the heart of an important trade. Bordeaux's seen its challenges since then and produced heroes like Dr. Albert Barreau, who we should remember as we walk along this street named in his honour, as we go to visit one of the relics of when Bordeaux's wine trade began in a garrison town on the edge of a mighty empire. Join us again tomorrow when we'll have another story from Bordeaux with Le Grand Voyage and Chateau Malottic La Gravière. I'll see you then.